Welcome to episode 5 of the Us and Oceans Live News podcast.
Us and Oceans Live News, the podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode. I hope you're all doing great. First I'd like to start this off with a promotion as such, kind of like a promotion. I've received some fantastic feedback by a wonderful woman called Mary Finelli, who is the co-founder of Fish Feel, a non-profit organisation. Fish Feel is the first organisation devoted to promoting the recognition of fishes as sentient beings deserving of respect and compassion. They primarily serve to help inform others of the wonder plight of these animals and how you and we can help them. So I've received a fantastic, as I said, I've received fantastic feedback from them. If you'd like to visit their page, go to Fish Feel on Facebook. And they also have a donate button if you really like what they do, really feel strongly about what they do, you can donate to them. They do fantastic work. They do like talks and like various events and stuff like that. And they have when they go to Veg Fest, they have like a stand where you can go. And I'd like to go back to what I hope I say her name right, Mary Finelli. Said on the feedback, which is on my Facebook stage, which I found fantastic. I'll go down, I'll have to scroll down for it, which is further down. And it was a recommendation on my page that she's put it on, which I found absolutely fantastic. It's good to know that when you, I have to start this podcast and she's listened to it and she likes what I do, she likes the idea, and she gave me such a good feedback, and I thanked her for it too. And she said, this is a great page that helps inform visitors of news about the oceans and the inhabitants, why they need protection and how we can help them for our own sake too. So it's very similar to what they stand for in a sense. This is what I do. I created this page because I didn't have a clue, I think it was 2 or 3 years when I created Us and Oceans Live News. I'll have to go back on that one. And I didn't have a clue, and it was just when a good friend of mine called Lee Middleton, and he put a photo about Sea Shepherd and about the boats. He's very into his boats and stuff like that, and I thought, what's this about? I just checked it, and it's an organisation called Sea Shepherd that have all these boats. And I looked into it further and see what they did. And the further I delved into their page on Facebook, I became very aware of how bad condition our oceans is. I'm very fond of the oceans. I always loved the oceans. There's no doubt about it. I'm a Pisces. They don't have anything to do with that, but absolutely love the oceans, love being near it, love being in the ocean, preferably warm. So yeah, great feedback from Mary Finelli from Fish Feel, and I'd like to promote them too. They do such a great job. So if you want to go to the page, check it out, see what they do. If you like what they do, if you really feel strongly about what they do, you can donate. They're also on various other platforms too. And I'd like to talk about various issues that have been popping up on my Facebook, which is, needless to say, there's been a lot going on. I've done the podcast for nearly a week now, and I've been very busy, back to work sort of thing, so I've been very busy, very tiring, trying to get myself back into the routine. And there's been various things happening. And I'll go back to the issues that I've posted on my Us and Oceans Live News page. And I will tell you about them right now. which is, we have a post, go to post. So as you can see, I'm not written it down. I'm going and keeping it real, keeping down here, which was, it's basically, again, Taiji have been captured a pod of dolphins again on the 6th of January. Very upsetting. Very upsetting indeed. So they've captured some dolphins, and it was awful. It wasn't a big pod or anything like that. It was a fairly minute pod, and it was basically Japanese again. I mentioned it before in Taiji, where Japanese they round up these pods of dolphins with banger boats. They call them banger boats, where when they see a pod, they fall in behind them and put these large metal rods into the water and start banging them with a paddle, which obviously the noise underwater really affects the dolphins and it drives them away from the noise. And as they sort of like going at these banger boats, they form an arc around this pod, slowly driving them to this cove by banging these rods. And when they get into the cove, they're then being netted into the cove so they can't escape. And then somebody will come who's specially trained, like a dolphin trainer or something like that, and will select the ones that are susceptible to be trained for entertainment. And the rest, sadly, they get slaughtered for the meat they consume, which is it's an awful thing to see. I've seen the video called The Cove, and it really, really disturbed me. Hence another reason why I started this page and eventually this podcast, which is what they do to these dolphins is they get hold of them, and what they do is on the shore, they drive them really close to the shallows. By then they're already really, really injured by the craggy rocks that are around them, and cut them, severely, heavily cut. And what they do is they get the dolphin, they have a large, like, it looks like a corkscrew almost, but it's not without the corkscrew anyway, it's more like a spike. And they force this into the cranial of the dolphins, and force it into the cranium, and they always push it in and out a couple of times to make sure they do as much damage to the brain or the back of the spinal cord. And then they plug it up with sort of like a wine bottle cork, but a bit larger and made of plastic, and they force that in. I know this is depressing to hear, but this is really what happens. They force this plug into the hole that they've made, and whether they do it so the cove doesn't turn as red, because this is what they call a red cove, when the captured dolphins, when the cove really literally turns red with blood. And I don't know whether they try to stop the bleeding of the damage they caused to the top of the head, or whether the way I see the videos after they've plugged it is these dolphins, they lie there and eventually they start to twitch and jerk and eventually succumb to what I believe is bleeding of the brain. The pressure builds up so much in the brain that they're having seizures, and this plug stops the blood from obviously coming out, and it's building up, and eventually they just die of brain hemorrhage. And this is the way I believe it. Plus, probably also that they trying to stop them, which just never works. When they capture dolphins and they kill dolphins, the cove always turns red. I seem to have a glitch in here, sorry about that. I don't know if it's correcting itself. It seems to be glitching quite a bit here. Not sure what's going on. So yeah, basically, that's what's happening. There really, really are awful ways of being killed, these dolphins. It's really awful. So yeah, basically, that's one of the things I've shared on my Facebook page. I would like to share something that Jai SLMTD update has come with photos saying about fish that we are someone too. And I don't know if you heard, but Gregg's, the sandwich shop, the British sandwich shop, not sure far wide they spread, they have brought out a vegan sausage roll. Very straight away slated by Piers Morgan. I've mentioned this on my page, and I don't know if it was today or yesterday, he actually tasted the sausage roll and spat it out. He said it was disgusting. Now, I have had this sausage roll. Apart from being tad on the salty side, it tastes just like the real deal. There's no difference. Piers Morgan's basically just doing this out of, obviously, he tasted it and he spat it out. He thought it was disgusting. Basically, it's obviously that he's going to say that because he wouldn't go, "Oh, I was wrong." You know what I mean? Piers Morgan is not a person that likes to admit that he's wrong. And basically, the store near us, that's in Hull, they've been told to get some vegan sausage rolls in, and there've been various people commenting on this, saying how it's no good and it tastes horrible. And I can honestly say it does not taste horrible at all. I have tried it. It tastes fantastic. It's great that Gregg's catching up with the plant-based market. And basically there's been quite a few comments that have been going around. And somebody says mushed up tofu, soya, absolute rubbish. Bean roll, no thanks, somebody said. Basically these people, they don't know what meat really does in the whole. Somebody said, "Oh, it's the first time I agree with Piers. I want to be thrown straight into the bin. How can you call it a sausage roll when there's no sausage in it?" This people don't understand what it is. It's an entry market. People. It's a transition part. You can't just. It's not copyright. I don't believe it's a copyright thing. But you got to for somebody who is curious about plant-based, you've got to give them some sort of transition. You can't just say, "Oh, it's a veggie roll" or something. Or people don't. People probably less likely to dip into that sort of way of thinking. And there's been a couple that's put a big status on vegetarian, ancient tribal slang for the village idiot who can't hunt, fish or ride. Well, the thing to forget is most of these vegetarians, they have been consuming meat. The problem is you can't hunt, you can't fish or can't ride. Most of the people that eat meat, they don't hunt it either. They just pick it off from the shelf. They don't even think about where it's coming from, what it does to the planet, or what it does to your health. They don't even know what it does to the ocean, especially. There's been some really bad things that's happening to the ocean. Somebody wanted to take that. There's been various. They're not going to sell them. Somebody said they're going to sell them. Disappointed, and I was disappointed when they didn't sell it there too. So no sausage in there. It's in there. So if it's not a sausage roll, it's a veggie roll. Well, in a sense, yeah, it is a vegetable roll. It's made from a vegetable, soya bean, or I'm not sure what the ingredients totally. It's probably soya-based type of sausage roll. I won't say a roll, but it is an entry market. You got to make people say, look, this is a sausage roll. It's easy to understand that it is a sausage roll and it's no meat in it. It gets people curious to see what it tastes like. So I reckon Piers Morgan had a dare to try it, so he tried it and obviously dissed it like he usually does. Same as with the wine. There was a vegan wine come about and he dissed that too. And somebody actually tried one. They're actually quite nice. They do taste like really mild sausage actually. It tastes just like pork, somebody said. If there's no sausage, it isn't a sausage roll, it's a veggie roll. And basically tastes better than the proper sausage roll. I'm not a veggie. People get so offended. It's a business opening to the market, equaling more money for them. How is that offensive? Totally agree with that comment. So all these comments I put down. I've replied to some of the comments and I said I was a meat eater over a year ago, which is true. No, I ate meat over a year ago. I think it's slightly more than a year ago now. I went vegetarian, then 3-4 months later I went vegan. I said I was a meat eater over a year ago, and when I found out what meat farming does to the oceans, the planet, and your health, I immediately quit. I also read this book by the Chromax frontman called, it's a John Joseph book called Meat is for Pussies. He doesn't like to call himself vegan because of the bad rep for being full on, but he is 100% plant-based organic. As I said about the actual title of the book, I said, before people get offended about the title of the book, they called it that because someone once said to him that vegans and vegetarians are pussies. John Joseph is a 5 times Ironman finisher from New York. Needless to say, he's a badass mother something and not a pussy. And I'll put a link down in the book below. You can go and see that if you go to... I've left a comment on North Point Shopping Centre. You can find that on Facebook if you want to go and see that. And I've basically put that comment. Nobody's replied it. I don't know if anybody's seen it. I'm not sure whether anybody has seen it. So, yeah, that's one of the posts I've shared on there. David Attenborough has commented on the Live Kindly website, which I follow and support hugely because they do great work for promoting plant-based diets. They have great ideas, recipes. You can go there. They also do you can actually sign up, pay a little fee for like ways of recipes and free giveaways and competitions and stuff like that. And David Attenborough said, humans need to stop eating meat to reduce climate change crisis, says David Attenborough. And I did put a comment on that. I said, look, it makes absolute sense. David Attenborough mentioned he brought the whole plastic thing about when everyone watched Blue Planet 2. And everyone seemed to went on the bandwagon with this, which is absolutely fantastic. I always said, why does it take somebody so famous to get the word out? But I'm glad that he did. I'm glad he spoke out about the reducing the meat or quitting the meat to reduce climate change. It says, on the page it says, television host and natural historian Sir David Attenborough has stated that mankind must stop eating meat for the good of the planet. In a recent video, Attenborough warned that we need to start making serious change in order to combat climate change, which is Sky News reports. Speaking about the issue, Attenborough commented that those in the comfortable West, excuse me, and especially people in wealthier parts, are often untouched by the effects of global warming. Excuse me about that. Caused by a number of industries, including animal agriculture. We may well say, well, it doesn't really matter whether we go on eating meat because we're not affected, David Attenborough commented. But in fact, it does matter because it matters to the whole world. And the first people who feel the consequences are, of course, the poor. Those at the bottom of the heap. Those that are really vulnerable to what's happening in the climate. He continued, notably, a study published in October found that those with a lower income were more likely to be concerned about climate change. That's why the whole world together should actually act on their behalf, Attenborough stated in late 2017. Attenborough revealed he had stopped eating meat, calling himself farming practices depressing. We have so much knowledge, we have so much skill, we have so much ingenuity. Of course, we can do something about climate change. The question is how much, and we ought to set our sights high and go for the best, Attenborough said in the video, which is also Live Kindly. You can go on this profile too, which is on Facebook. There are scientists and inventors or industrialists all around the world who are very, very ingenious. Homo sapiens is a very ingenious species, and I believe it's got us into this mess. That's true, but I knew not what it did, and now's the moment to use that ingenuity and that passion to get us out of it, he remarked. Television series Our Planet, made in collaboration with the World Wildlife Fund and narrated by Attenborough, highlights both the beauty and struggles of the world in matters like climate change, overfishing and deforestation. Meat and dairy production are leading drivers of these issues, as well as water loss, species extinction, rising sea levels and pollution. Recently, the United Nations stated that tackling meat is the world's most urgent problem, and research from the University of Oxford in the UK uncovered that the single best action a person can take to help the planet is to adopt a vegan diet. So that's one of the things I've shared on Facebook, which is I'm absolutely for it. Excuse me, I've had a bit of a bad throat lately. So I posted that one on there on my page. yeah, it's basically, it's true. You know, I didn't know. I made my research, and it was shocking, absolutely shocking to find out what's going on out there. You know, these meat farms, especially in the West, the American side, it's really, really bad over there. Really bad. You know, they have these huge factory farms. Literally, they have like these sheds where the cows go in from the beginning at birth as a calf, and each shed has its own age stage. Where on the last shed, when they're finished in the last shed, they come out after. I'm not sure how long the process is for a cow to grow. You make your own research. But they have a shed. They go in one shed. They have several sheds, and out the other on the last shed, they're all adults, and they go into the wagons, off to be slaughtered. It's called factory farming. It's unsustainable what they feed them. The grains that they feed them it's absolutely sustainable. It's causing deforestation. It's not just palm oil, palm fats that will cause deforestation. It is the land that is being used to harvest these vast amount of grains for these meat products that the most world consumes. And what you got to think about is that all these factory farms and all these cows in these factory farms, is they do have one thing that has something that affects the ocean, which is climate change in itself, and it is the slurry pits. Basically, that's what it is, the slurry pits. Slurry pits near the slaughterhouse and slurry pits where the factory farms are. These vast lakes, literally lakes of excrement, urine, and these are wide open. You know, some of it gets transported and be used for spreading on farmers' fields, but there's too much of it. The recent storm that was in Florida, not Florida, I'm sure it was Florida, but America had the recent large storm. These slurry pits got washed into the oceans and into the rivers. You know, and where does the rivers lead? Back to the oceans. This is the reason for these dead zones that are out there. You know, where no fish can survive in these dead zones. It's caused by these slaughterhouse slurry. You know, what they put in the rivers, pesticides from fields were heaviest by farmers that use the Monsanto product, Roundup and all that rubbish that's out there. And and these slurry pits from these factory farms, very bad indeed. So, yeah, I'd like to finish it off there. I'll give you I'll give you an update on what I have been up to these last couple of days on Facebook. If you like what you hear, if you like my podcast, please, on YouTube, if you find this on YouTube, so you can subscribe on YouTube, very appreciated. Leave a comment, absolutely fantastic if you leave a comment. I will read them, and if there's any sort of advice that you could give me, or want me to talk about anything specifically, I'll be happy to have a look at it and see if I can adjust my podcast to the advice. I'm also on various platforms: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Podcast is on various platforms with Stitcher, on Anchor FM, Anchor.fm, which you can download on your app. You can have an app. You can make your own podcast if you like, which is also always good to have. Get the message out there. So that's what I'd like to finish up with. Just again, I will go back to the promotion I made earlier. If you like Fish Feel, go to them, have a look at their page, and click on the donate button if you like what they do. They always could do with donations. I was thinking, I'm trying to get myself into shape, and I was thinking, like, if I do any sort of like a marathon run or something, I would love to get some donation money together for Fish Feel. As you know, I don't have any sort of finance myself. I've got literally this laptop, cheap microphone, like a lavalier microphone. Don't really spend much on all these. Maybe that's why the quality is so not totally pristine like all these professional podcasters out there. But like I say, I don't have the finances to donate all the time to all these events, but I'd love to do a marathon, get some donations together, and give the donations to Fishfield or Sea Shepherdess. I already donate to them. I bought like a cap and all that. You can go to Sea Shepherd. They do fantastic work. They've got a shop. So I'd like to finish it there. So thanks very much for listening to this podcast. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, and I will see you or hear you. You'll hear from me on the next podcast, guys. So bye bye. See you later.